was lifting a trophy after we won a big tournament. Like, it's always very nice for me to look back at those pictures and those videos and those clips, because I think no one made a caster scream more when they saw my 4x M4 spray transfer in Sanok. I think it was north of Paradise.
Good job. Smash goes down to Miliku. Meanwhile, Vasco will finish off another. Sixmer goes. Diego down. Oh no! Iro gets the quick spray transfer. And now we're down to...
I was just in the zone, pretty zen, just destroying everyone. And that is one of my favorite moments in my career as well. Like, it was a sick play, 100%. We kind of knew we basically won the tournament going to the third day, so it was pretty awkward on the third day. Like, that was definitely my most anxious, most stressed day in PUBG, because you have a huge point lead and you're trying to secure the win, but we were also having very rough games as well. We were just doing rotations, taking fights, and nothing was working. And going into the final game, like the whole match, we were just looking at kill feed, seeing if people behind us were losing players. And I think we've kind of died early as well in the last game, and I was so nervous, just waiting for the casters and whatever to just confirm us that we won. And then when they did,
pulled together, WTSG, Miraku and VAR, formerly of NIP, pulled in with...
That feeling still is the best moment in my life. Like, even outside of my career, esports, whatever, it was just pure joy. And lifting that trophy with my team and on my own after, it is just amazing. Solidifying that hard work and getting the results also was just an amazing feeling.
Diego down. Oh no! Iro gets the quick spray transfer, and now we're down to a 2-on-1. Miraku.
So we might not have the big stage, we might not have the trophy lift or the confetti in real life. This is, of course, online, but Saga, it's still such an important tournament for these teams and for these players.
It's so good to see that players who, you know, back in their heyday were the ones on those big stages lifting the trophies, confetti falling, messing up everyone's YouTube compression, whatever. But the fact that they're still here, and players like Iro can come back and have his chance to find glory once again with a brand new team.
Can he find glory, do you think?
He can.
That's for you.
We'll talk about BBL in time, I'm sure, but there's definitely the potential on this roster. It's taken him a while to settle and find a team after his comeback, but I think no one can really argue that as MEA teams go, BBL is by far one of the strongest.
On your screens right now, you can see what to expect for the next few hours as we play 6 games. And of course, we've spoken a lot about how much this means to the teams, what's up for grabs, what they could win. But you know how we do it at Grand Finals here for PUBG. We got something for you as well. So make sure that you're following PUBG_Battlegrounds on Twitch. We got a bunch of awesome PEC emotes. So spam those in the chat. Make sure you use them and have a little bit of fun with those. You're welcome from all of us here. We hope that you enjoy them. And now you get to enjoy 2 other voices as they take you into game. It is Toby and Kalaris.
All right, thank you, Sam. Yes, it's 3 days of gameplay to crown our champions, find out who's going on to PGS 3 and 4, as well as, well, actually, I'm on P90 watch, and my big Owl Cup full of tea is ready to go.
There you go. I don't know how you managed to segue an Owl Cup of tea into the show, but there we have it. If it was on your bingo card, we're in for a good one. And I think we're going to be in for a good one. I actually kind of like the fact that they just talked about Iro. Great segment there with him as well. Because going off of what we saw during last chance, I think if if we are to see PPL anywhere near the top, they have to come out right from the start. It's not going to be a slow day one for PPL. They'll come back. No. They started last chance with 2 wins in the first 3. I think we're going to have to see something similar in order for them to find the top once more.
And the problem that exists, though, is that this Grand Finals lobby is better than last chance, right? I mean, they found themselves, what, 5th place in last chance overall. The group stages was a little bit more rigorous for them as a whole. And it does kind of push me towards the idea of constantly talking about the fact that MEA has been shaken up a lot. I still I would put Howl at a better position for MEA as a whole so far, but I think to kind of go off this for a second, I'm so happy that I get to cover BB team finally here, Toby. I almost called you Toffees, because I have high hopes for this team. I think they're going to PGS. I think they've got big chances of winning here and maybe doing well at PGS as well.
Definitely a promising roster, and not only that, but they've already shown us what they're capable of. And I think I completely agree with you. They are far from done impressing in terms of great play. Now, I'm curious to see how they're gonna fare for sure. But going back to what you were just saying now, I mean, with Howl, there's an example to kind of compare with BBL. I mean, they made it. It's only top 2, assuming, of course, we're not including the teams that are already guaranteed to go through to PGS. Howl managed to make it. Exalt managed to pull one off. I mean, there's definitely a scenario here where, yes, we have some of our top teams, some of the teams we expect to be in the top, but I could see 1 or 2 teams come out and shake things up and maybe send a not even in the conversation through to PGS 3 and 4.
Well, let's see if it goes down. It is time. It's our first game of 18 across 3 days. The grand final is here for PEC Spring, and we've got ourselves Miramar on the cards to start things off. How this lobby is going to shake up is anyone's guess right now, aside from maybe some of those top spots, which we have high hopes for, some of those big squads. But it is time to get things going. Not too bad a playing path to start things off, Toby.
Now, I know that in various sports that I don't really follow, you usually play with your home, like your home jersey, and you have your away jersey, and then you have the third one, the alternate jersey, when things just don't match at all. I love the teal foot esports we have going right now. It's a whole new color, but I'm not gonna lie, like a Letterman jacket with the keep the black, white, and red colors of the team itself, but a teal Letterman jacket for foot esports, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be interesting. Yeah, they've also been repping a lot of merch. I've seen a lot of their tweets over the past couple of weeks about the boys over there being able to join up with what's been going on with Foot. But we already saw a few of these big fan favorites on screen at the moment. We saw BB team just before. We saw Ascend as well, who, I mean, Kovo said it himself as well. Sometimes they play awesome. Sometimes they kind of just play mediocre, and they're kind of, well, what are they going to do? Ascend, obviously, they started last year off fantastically. Even were able to push in PGS fantastically, but they're coming in from their same usual spot here, and they're going to have to gain big traction to be able to compete in this lobby.
I think a lot to continue off of what you're saying here, a lot of looking into Ascent, looking into Foot as well, is going to come down to how much space do they manage to make on the edge of the server.
Now, before we actually get all through into the game as proper, let's hear from some of these players as to what they think for the first game of the day.
Я завжди чекаю, поки почнуться турнірні матчі, і через це з натхненням чекаю, коли почнеться перша гра, і я зможу змагатися з найкращими командами Європи.
В начале игры всегда присутствует некое волнение, но оно проходит, как только я нахожусь в потоке и стартует игра. Волнение проходит, и разум становится чистым, и играть становится намного проще.
We don't want to overthink stuff, which means we want to play the same way as we play scrims. Also, we don't play under any pressure, so it helps us a lot.
First game of today is most important game for us, because if you play good in the first game, all team is getting hyped and all day is going good for us.
Because it can be quite exciting to start playing finals, let's say in this tournament, because the payoff is going to be huge if you make it. You have to be in that good mental state. So everyone has their own routine. Like for me personally, what I do is I do some stretches, so my muscles are relaxed. I don't have any pain in my back or my neck, whatever. And I listen to some music and play some training mode to get in that flow state, I guess, is something I do pretty much every day before games. So I usually listen to Daft Punk or Beethoven that's my personal stuff, and it's usually just us talking about what's important going into the first game, depending on the map as well. Just like what we need to focus on, what we talked about, we just go over them, and then we just jump in and start shooting people.
Well, regardless of if it's Daft Punk or Beethoven, BBL actually started things off all right whilst that was going on, because they were able to take down one member from Bumble. And that is how game one is set up here, Toby.
I love how you caught on to that as well, because that I feel like is quite a shift in music genre. Sometimes I put on some Daft Punk, sometimes Beethoven, you know, anything in between goes, yeah, I like it. I like it. A wide variety of music taste. And yes, to go off of what you were saying there as well, BBL getting themselves a first kill. I think an important one too, not only, of course, because it's pointed in the back, but also because the way that they were just jumping now onto Bumble Squad, they clearly want to make as much space as they possibly can in and around that area. So getting kills in the very first match, that's probably going to force, I would imagine, Bumble Squad to play that much more cautiously in the games to come.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, you wind down to Beyonce, sometimes you wind down to Cannibal Corpse or Necrovegas.
Yeah, I mean, whatever floats your boat,
floats your boat.
Yeah.
It's a crazy place.
When it comes to music, I am very open-minded. There's very little that I don't enjoy. What I do not enjoy really, though, is how Lou and Perfectix, yes, they got the first kill here, but they're also kind of isolated, because if you guys look at the map, which I strongly encourage everyone to do, you will see that Batulans and Example are currently about 1.5 kilometers away from these two boys, who currently are set up on a hillside with, I can't imagine any vehicles nearby, because they would probably be down at the compound, and the remaining 3 players of Orc is down there. So not only is it how do you get away, but how do your teammates even get to you without potential casualties?
Yeah, the separation is quite stark, but what's important for Twisted Minds is they play it slow, and they kind of just play almost a contained style, making sure that their opponents aren't really being too aggressive, and the reinforcements will be on the way. Meanwhile, Ascend is going to be one of the latecomers to this circle. Thankfully, for the rest of these teams, for the most part, this circle was quite, I'm going to say in inverted commas, fair, to the point where nobody really has to come super late to the kind of proceedings. But for Ascend, they'll be a little bit bottled up on that west side, especially if Twisted Minds continues to hold their ground, eventually reinforce and kind of bottle that up a little bit north of Picardo.
I mean, effectively, when you plop the first circle down straight on top of the center of the plane path, you know that for the most part, teams will be pretty satisfied with how things are going. And as you're saying, I mean, it's only really Ascent, Bumble, and Entropic coming in from the southwest that have yet to make their way, not just into the circle, but into actually pretty comfortable spots in the circle. Normally, you would see by this time in phase 1, there's still being a couple of teams out, which we're seeing now as well, but also a couple of teams that had to kind of, you know, get themselves fitted in proper to the circle. But everyone already wide splits. Lil W, one of those teams, a wide 2-1-1 split over towards the Minas Mountains. And yeah, I mean, everyone just trying to take as much space as they can, which I'm liking to see. Teams daring to go out and play aggressive in the first day of a grand finals. Oftentimes you see the tempo be a bit slower here in the first day of grand finals and kind of ramp up, but it seems to me that with how much space some of these teams are daring to take, everyone's coming out saying, you know what, if we can be greedy early and we can reap the rewards off of it, let's go for it.
Yeah, especially Lil W, as we just checked in right before. I mean, Hello Senpai was just doing some like peacocking shots here and there. They've basically created a little bit of a wall for themselves up in that top right-hand corner. One team that I am concerned for in this lobby, though, in the grand final, I have to say, is Bumble team. They already lost one. Yeah. That's not the reason I'm concerned, though. The reason I'm truly concerned is because I do think that they might have been a little bit lucky in the group stage with how they actually advanced on. That's rough to say. However, the one win that they did get was off the back of them rotating along beach on Erangel, as we're on board with them now, and then getting priority compounds east of Milta, and then kind of just waiting there for circles to come their way. If they don't get that win, they don't advance. It would have been Fairy Tail getting 8th place into the grand final, who coincidentally did not qualify through last chance. This is a bit of a long-winded point, but I am concerned for them here, Toby.
Yeah, as you should be. As you should be. They are now making their way up on the western side of the circle. Could potentially be running into Ascent real soon. I think Mika is going to at least hear their vehicles coming through as we see Face and Samulet here. Again, neither of these two teams really eager to take this fight. I think right now it's just the scouting matter. You can see Gustav being far up towards the north, obviously on higher ground, so we can see up and ahead of his teammates in Garexi, James, and Vex. But I mean, Face's positioning alone right now is telling me that they're not looking for a fight. Having said that, Chris might be on other thoughts here.
And Bumble Squad might have another casualty if they're not careful. Thankfully for them, Chris doesn't hit with the orc, so he'll have to move on away. It gets his mini 14. Looks for a few pot shots in the distance. See if he can take another member of Bumble Squad. But pot shots in the distance. See if he can take another member of Bumble Squad. But dart through there and know that you're going to be fully safe. But he is turning around now for it after a little bit of a repositioning from Bumble. They cannot see the road, so he's going to get away scot-free.
I love that you say that and then instantly just 180s. Wait, did James just call me a chicken? Hell no, I'm going back straight into this one. Just 180 sends it through, and luckily for him, gets to live to write home about it.
I mean, it's probably a good information game going on from Ascend there, right? The fact that the other members of Ascend saw two members moving to what was kind of the north side of that warehouse via cars means that their lines of sight onto the road are very limited. So why on earth not try and go for that shot and just reinforce a little bit quicker? It's a small gamble, tiny, but definitely works.
No E-pickups early on again. Of course, everyone was close to the circle. Now let's see, where are we going? Center once more. And while center, in terms of distance to circle, might favor the most, we are cutting out a ton of playable terrain here. So you're pretty much limited now to Minas, Cantera, the former La Bandita, and then you have Graveyard and Hacienda. I mean, that's really about it. A lot of this is open fields, James.
Yeah, Pera's going to be laughing with the position they have dead set in the middle. But, I mean, you would expect at least something that's playable when you were already center to begin with. Foot's already looking for little pickoffs where they can find them, but shots will come in from the distance. Vard's going to have none of it.
Foot is yet another team that I think will have to come off to a good start in order to be successful. They, last year, I mean, they were pretty much cursed all the way through grand finals last year. They started off somewhat weak, climbed their way back to the top, and just fell short twice. Yes, they did make their way in the end off of PGC points, but they would have wanted to make more global tournaments. And I think this one is going to be one that they have their minds very heavily set on. We have to come off to a good start here, because we know Foot can bring it home in the end of tournaments, like we see with Twisted Minds, like we see with FaZe, but they want to come off to a really strong start to not have to play catch-up all the way through it.
And the tough thing about that is, Toby, I feel like their play style, we saw it in the last chance, right? They were playing in very slow, they were constantly winning edge fights, and they were being able to win games off the back of that style. However, here in the grand finals, there are not only good teams that play that same style that sometimes, like on Erangel, for example, should on their normal drop spots be coming in from similar angles, but there are also some of the best teams in the lobby as well. So that becomes even more precarious for a team like Foot, who might have a harder time exhibiting some of those strengths in the grand final.
Exactly. I mean, to go back to what I said earlier, for both Ascend and for Foot, I think it's about not only getting space on the edge of the circle, but making more of it than just what you're given. You know, you got to actively go out and force teams off. And yes, again, I mean, we saw it during, especially on Miramar, in the last chance qualifiers, Foot able to really push and shove teams into each other to set up third-party fights for themselves to engage in. But, I mean, just look at the map now. Foot with Navi on one side, BB team on the other. They're not exactly teams that just allow you to push them around as you see fit.
No. BB team's one of the ones I was alluding to earlier, man. They're just, I'm scared of them in this lobby. I'm scared of them for the year. It's since Tornado Energy, I've not been this on board with a team. I know, it's ridiculous, but here we are, BB team. They're looking awesome, and yeah, it's going to be difficult for Foot to wiggle on around those. Meanwhile, Ascend is just looking down from the hills. They've been able to find themselves a nice little entry point for the most part against these hills south of San Martin, but once you're having to come off those hills, which you're sort of expecting to on a circle like this, that's where things get dicey. So they're trying to scout out as much as possible to the east to see where they can go next.
This next circle shift is going to be incredibly interesting, especially if we go anywhere but hard west. You have Bumble, you have Ascent, you have Twisted Minds out there, Oakless and Win or Die in the vicinity too. If that entire power grid plateau is completely shifted out, there's going to be such a big, like heavy amount of traffic coming west to east that you're going to see two, if not more, teams go down before the circle is even gone all the way through. I like the fact that Bumble team is already leaving now, saying, yes, we might not know where the circle is going, but let's get out of the chaos before it even happens. Even if it doesn't, we're still going to be better off. So they take the wide northern wrap, makes perfect sense. And now, well, there you have it. Circle goes east, and everything between Patsamulet and Pera and Lil W right now is going to be practically unclaimable in the open. So there's little to no space to fight for the rest of the teams that are coming into the circle now.
Pera's going to have to get together. I feel like eventually a crunch will go down on them. There's so many teams already coming in. Here comes Mad Bulls. They They did fantastically in the group stage, and they are crashing in between the position here of Howl and Pera. But Howl will let them skirt on by just a little bit. Quepper doesn't manage to hit some of those shots coming on here. Ace 32 now, though, also not hitting shots from the Mad. Nobody warm, just shots from the Mad. Nobody warm, just get into this lobby. Gives them a little bit of room.
I mean, either you're playing Graveyard Minas or you're playing the compound up at the crossroads. There's nothing else to try and contest. Orclis spotting the split of Blue W, trying to contest up on the top here. As you've seen as Schenk, and yes, he has. He's trying to make a run for it, down to half HP, but will be able to get safely. Well, now you're seeing Pera, to go back to what you alluded to before, starting to take casualties. Simply too late on their group up.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised, if I'm honest. When it comes to a circle like this, with the amount of people that were still alive, you have to consolidate. You have to coagulate in a certain location, and they were unable to do so. I mean, it is difficult to transition between those two locations very quickly when cars are coming in, but here comes a fight again. Ibby is on fire already. He's got himself a second on the board against Pera, and that's that split being absolutely punished.
Yep, indeed it is. They had the best position, couldn't group up in time, and now they've been punished for it. Matt Bulls will take one casualty, and Nix here as well, the top damage dealer from the group stage, so definitely not a player they would want to lose out on this early on. As Baron Peak now trying to get to safety. Everyone here fighting for control over Minas proper.
It's a tough spot to fight over. I was pie in the sky thinking, oh, great, maybe if somebody got rid of Pera, we could have a zip line. But, you know, that's never... It's very rare that's going to happen, especially with this many people alive.
Just hang out in the middle of the zip line, go dee-dee-dee. If I don't look at anyone, no one will see me. Kind of the ostrich strategy. I don't know, maybe don't try and do that. Ascent, maybe don't try and do that either. We'll see if they come out successful as they full speed beeline it down to the dip. It's a great place to be, but I feel like that's one of the spots where with mortars added to the game, it's just a ticking time bomb, really.
You got to make a wild move, though, when you're coming in that late on a circle like this, and they're going to try for it. They've already survived, but for how long, as you say, remains to be seen, as Twisted Minds has got themselves a really decent 2-2 split across some of their center of this circle, when I was a little bit concerned as to how they were going to be able to make this rotate, but as soon as the circle popped, bam, in their cars, ready to go, ready to take this location. So good scouting by Batulins and the boys to be able to take this away from anybody that may have been there.
Nice scouting from Entropic as well, coming in on that southern side, taking the position away from, or off of, I should say, Orclis as the E picked up to the mountain top. They scout that Graveyard, surprisingly enough, has been completely vacated, so they'll be very satisfied with that position. Bumble Squad, they've been rotating for a while, wrapped all the way east around, and now they're going to have to come back towards the west.
I don't mind the attempt at the big wide rotates.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, they've identified basically that as much as, there's probably, one or two entry points on that side of the circle. If we go wide round, there's probably a few more because of how the circles have slightly shifted and they found themselves little cliff ways to get in there. But the bombardment will start here. It's Chris gets hit by Hello My Bad from the distance with the mortar. There was also nades going to be coming here from Win or Die to finish things off as well. Ascend, you already called it earlier. They were going to be in a terrible position to try and deal with some of this attack that was going to be coming their way. And now
it's dangerous for a multitude of reasons. One of them being, yes, you get yourself a decent spot inside the circle, but you cannot do anything actively to prevent your opponents from getting to you. You can throw smokes, but that just prevents your own vision as well. So really, I mean, as long as no one else is engaging Win or Die, there's right now, and Twisted Minds getting a piece of it now. Get trying to wrap him, he get down to half HP. He's going to be found as well, and now it's just Kilyakai left alive.
That's the thing that surprised me the most. The fact that Twisted Minds was keen to have a little bit of a look over this way and see exactly what they could find. It's kind of put themselves in a bit of an odd spot now where Win or Die is kind of close to them, so is Pod Samulet. So they've got to be very careful. These reinforcing shots are going to have to be important, but they can already hit Bumble Team coming down below them here, so they will try and deal with that. Already Batulins as well as Lou and Example hitting a good few shots here on Madsy, so he goes down. Bumble, they're just... Honestly, they're bumbling about in this game. It has been rough. They're trying to go everywhere.
Yep, it's a ring around the rosy play for them. We'll see if they come out successful or not. As Example finds the double mid-air. Best of luck, Spiro trying to go for the seat swap in the car, but he won't have any of it.
Tough stuff, tough stuff. Here come more nades against Bumble. They keep running into every single team in this lobby at the moment. Grandis Disney BB team trying to find themselves a bit of a recovery position after losing 2, but they will find a little bit of cover. Hawkey looking into the distance, seeing if FaZe are trying to enter now up towards the north. They've gone a little bit wider on that west side, so that's leaving them exposed as well.
FaZe tried to wrap all the way over towards the western side off of course, the fight between Win or Die and Ascend. And now they want to make space for themselves. Again, this is a great position, great timing to do so, knowing that they're the last team up here on the northwestern side. If they can claim this, it should be free for the taking.
Yeah, the northern teams are going to have such a ridiculously difficult time going up the hill south against some of these positions. There's so many lines of sight for teams like Entropic, for example, that are just looking down their way. Even Bumble technically can look down on those fights that are going on eventually if they're able to get over a little bit of a lip, but that then exposes them to some of the teams south of them. So it's a bit of a problem as big shots come in. Gedrox just trying to find himself a little bit of cover, but the contact has been thrown. James, that's 3 nades. Sorry, Gedrox, all angles covered.
Yep, nothing to be safe there. FaZe, well, they might only get 1 kill, but they're inside the circle. I said that too early, though, because now we shift once more over to the open cliff face once more. Twisted Minds in a good position up the hillside, but look at how many teams are in the western part of Minas Generates. I mean, half the server is set up there. I don't recall having ever seen this many players in Minas itself before.
This game could be a situation where from game 1 in the grand finals, Twisted Mind says, oh, here's all the kind of commotion about BB team, and says, did you forget about us? Because they've already got 7 kills on the board, right? And they're getting themselves a central position. They're flexing out 2-2 at the moment, trying to find some of these lips to be able to play. And if Twisted Minds can start off strong here in the grand finals, well, they might have been, we might have been counting our chickens a little bit too early about some contenders to their throne.
And keep in mind, I mean, just to go into them a little bit here, you look at how good they have been, and not to say anything bad about Spiro, but then they get example on top of that. I mean, of course, there's going to be a period from where they're going to have to kind of melt everything together. But if this is the tournament for them to get into a really good flow, that's a PTC Championship team right there.
Potentially. They got potential for a lot of points. Let's see how it goes down here. As Gustav's not going to be charging into Pod Samala to try and make something happen. But example from the distance is able to hit James. Dante takes down Gustav. FaZe has a little bit of a recovery mission on their hands here. This isn't exactly the easiest place to actually be assaulting this warehouse from. And Fex will go down thanks to Dante once again.
Yep, not made easy for them at all. Corrects it up, trying to make his way on through. Not going to happen. Hawkeye running over the 2 remaining players from BP team as well. He'll stay alive. They'll fall out. We are only now making our way, not even into, but close to placement points as the remaining 3 FUT esports players try to make their way up through the southern side of Minas.
Really like what Entropic did there. I mean, they identified the BB team had gone there very early on during these proceedings, and they were wounded, so why not actually ram into them here? Meanwhile, FUT is ramming into BBL. They have gone down. Difficult on this southern side here to have enough room because there were so many teams clumped in this area and trying to move up on the warehouses of what is effectively western Minas Generalis. It's quite open, so you've got to be very, very quick about your approach.
Wonder if they're all going to try and play below here. They might actually do. The thing is, once they commit to it, like now there's no getting back up. Yes, you could jump down if you're up in the high ground already, but for them now, if this one swings northeast, FUT are going to be in all kinds of trouble trying to move further forward. The thing is, Entropic has no clue and no reason to think there's more teams coming in from the south.
Going down the cliffs, yeah, was definitely unexpected in terms of an approach. Oh, T-bone! Dragunov, but Dedrix will reply in kind here to try and bring something back here for Entropic. Teal team versus Teal team. I can't believe FUT's Teal, as you said earlier on, but I'm getting used to it here for a moment. Dedrix, can he shut him down? Oh, that charge of the nade, just a little bit overcooked there from Vard.
Oh, now you have Howl wanting to look into this as well. They smell the blood, and they want to see if they can find some points with it's committing 2 down on this side of the hillside. Actually make that 3 as the maddest down here too. Dedrix, solo player, obviously not going to be doing too much knowing there's 28 alive. Can't really get to his teammate, trying to see maybe if he can get himself some placement points, but it's Tosta! Tosta, who for whatever reason just popped the helmet off of Eindeep. Maybe a hit got in the way as he was shooting at Dedrix.
Yeah, a little bit of a walk forwards. I mean, they're not playing with much room, right? Or a Bumble team down where they are, so you're very limited. And they will go down thanks to a nade from Perfectix. Twisted Minds is racking up the points right now.
Yep. Here we go, Dedrix trying to hold off. Not going to happen. Marco will spot T-Bone from up high. We'll see if the rest can be committed to another. It is the second, maybe even third time the T-Bone falls down here, so they'll have to commit to the rest fast if they want to get it, as now the peak comes over the top once again.
And I mean, for as much as they're in a precarious spot, this has been a success for them. 7 kills go down so far, but Twisted Minds is still looking for even more. Lou, unfortunately, has gone down. Pod Samler actually really being extremely aggressive about their approach here, because they kind of had to be to get out of that warehouse and try and find a way up this hill. I was saying it earlier, this is difficult. So they've actually been able to dislodge a lot of Twisted Minds. They only have Example left, but again, it's kind of a success mission, even though I think Twisted Minds probably expected themselves to get more than what they've done so far off this game.
Always want to maximize every single chance you get at it. We've talked to Betulins a ton of times in the past. He's always looking for more, even when we're going, how could you ever get anything better done? He's going, well, I'm sure there was one point in this match that I could have found an extra point, and also been looking for those as we now see how. Ooh, nice. Marco, Matt, Ruin, 3 of them together holding off, getting the kills all through. That's going to be good down.
Trying his best. Unfortunately for Diffex and Ferris, they're gone. Lookerup's putting in a lot of work, a lot of eyes on Mad Bulls as well for this tournament, considering they were able to play second in that group stage. They look really good whilst doing so. So many veteran names on that team that were looking for an opportunity, looking for a chance to say, okay, we're not washed up. And this is the result. 123 points in the group, second place. And they've got themselves quite a few in this game so far. Still alive, ready to go. 3 alive.
I think with this Howl roster as well, with Marco added to the team again, there's always going to be that gelling phase where they have to figure out exactly whose role is what whenever you do roster changes. But I think Howl definitely a team with a lot of promise as we make our way here through the first match of the PEC Spring Grand Finals. And I mean, if they can take out Example, it's not going to be an easy task because they're going to have Podsamler to worry about as well. But if they can get that plateau away from him and kind of play with the comfort of knowing there's no one behind him, that's going to be everyone downhill in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's interesting, this circle, and how all this plays out, because as much as these teams are scrapping with each other, Lul W gets the circle, and they've been playing a control area game throughout this. There's not been much scrapping between them and some of the other teams around them. They've played this separated style from phase 1 all the way through to this phase, and they've been rewarded for it.
Yeah, wide 2-1-1 split, but they, I mean, compared to Pera, actually managed to regroup when they had to. Smart on their disengages, been able to stay 4 alive through all of it. Now we'll see if they can make something of this circle, which, as you said, I mean, they're literally the only team inside it. Lastante, eyebrows blown off, but somehow only 48 damage done.
Singed eyebrows, that is rough. We've got to be careful about that. Ruin, though, looking for another angle against Pod Samolet. They know that they want to try and take out as many kill points as possible, considering that a transition to the next circle for them is going to be difficult. If you're going to do it, though, you have to take out either the teams on the high ground or the teams on the low ground. They were focusing that low ground for the moment. Now they've tried to kind of go the opposite direction here, realizing that Pod Samolet has a little bit too much cover for them to handle.
I like this play. They look down towards down the hill towards the north for a while. They said there's simply no play for us to make here. Let's go. He says the straight on fight 4v3 against Mad Bulls. See what we can get done. In the meantime, now Example, he has a nade. He has 2 mollies. There's probably plenty more use from Geos, but now he's getting pushed by 3.
Yeah, there was a scary spot there. I thought maybe Pod Samolet might have forgotten or didn't know the presence of Example when Howland moved away, but looks like they were keen about it and do shut it down. Quizzy, though, takes down Ruin to get things going here as Howl had to come around this southern side to try and find themselves an entry point. But they are being punished by Mad Bulls. Dante goes for the spray, doesn't quite fully connect where he needs to. Ooh, a little tick of the blue there as well as some extra damage. But Mad Bulls is absolutely ruining these teams in the south.
Standing their ground to full effect. As I say, that Lookerux does go down. We'll see if he can get back on his feet. Somehow not going to happen most likely as Ibiza looks over the top. Trying to see if he can get more Quizzy down to blue now as well. So it's just EP left alive.
Trying his best to get themselves out of here, but it will be Lul W just looking for the hunt, as you said. For them, it should have been their game, and it will be their game. They are absolutely tearing it to pieces because it's too easy. The control game from Lul W wins out, and any question marks I had around them to start things off, well, I mean, the control game won for them in game number 1 here, Toby.
I love the fact that everyone said, okay, none of us is going to win this game anyway. Let's just brawl it for a second. And Lul W was like, wait, they're all dying. We need some of these points, and by the time they get over the hillside, yeah, we lost like 12 players in a matter of 35 seconds.
I mean, you can see in that terrain, though, how difficult it is. It's like, okay, we're on the low ground, what do we do? Okay, we're on the high ground, what do we do? Meanwhile, Lul W was like, there's no one on our side of the map. But anyway, let's go over to another side here. We got the desk ready to go for game number 1.
Start started this out hyping up BB team. They were out early. I think I used the word demure for Twisted Minds, and they of course popped off double-digit kills. So I think all the experience in the world meant absolutely nothing. I could host this a million times. I have not learned to shut my mouth, Avenger. But experience paid off here for a lot of the teams. You could see those experienced players stepping up, getting their teams to the final game. And then it was a little bit of circle luck, could we say, for LoLW?
Yeah, coming their way there when all the teams on the southern and western side, they were, struggling to hold on to a little bit of high ground, hold on to a little bit of, like one warehouse. It's just hard when it goes so hard their way. But then again, as the guys pointed out during the cast, only 6 kills to go their way. It's a low kill game for them, but they take the secure win any day, right? Twisted Minds driving around the circle, chilling, getting as many kills as they could. They could have maybe, I feel like, pinched out, squeezed out a little bit more of that. But again, this high ground, low ground, unplayable area, like it's so hard to play around. It's rare we see these circles end like they do.
I mean, the ending here, Saga, the ending here, bang off, bang off, bang off, bang, 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 bang off. It was like fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah, but they had to be very patient to get to that point, and this is kind of reminiscent of the LoLW we saw through the group stages, where realistically that zone was beneficial to them in the early stages and definitely in the late game, but the mid game was pretty rough. After August used the emergency parachute and forced them off the top of the mountains, they were forced to play low ground. They didn't really get much of an opportunity to do anything. But thankfully for them, and also for Pod Samela as well, Twisted Minds just killed everyone. So basically the entire northern field, every position that wasn't within a compound or on the opposite side or at the hilltop, there was just nobody there. So LoLW's time was made a little bit easier to survive down on that low ground, and then Phase 7 comes in, that big shift, and they can finally make a push up the side of the hill and clean up.
Saga, do you think that some of the teams need to be concerned when you see Twisted Minds come in day number 1, first game, that aggressive? I mean, I worry about that because I feel like when Batulins is leading that team like that, it's scary for everyone else in the lobby.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern, but I also think a lot of teams just need to shoot back. It just seemed like a lot of that time, it was just a buddy system. They had 2 guys on the side of the hill holding the dirt road, anchoring, while the other 2 just drove around the field and went and got in grenade range and third-partied everyone while they were either just proning in dips or nading each other. No one really actually shot back Twisted Minds for a large portion of that. So maybe just not letting them have that much proactivity could be all it takes to slow their momentum. And you need to do that because once they build momentum, it's pretty much impossible to stop them.
Off the back of what Saga said, Avenger, why do you think the teams weren't shooting back?
Overall, I mean, they're shooting back, but the guys are just better at hitting, right? So the few shots that they may be hitting, right, then they're going to get dominated by top players on Twisted Minds. But again, the amount of control that they're taking, the third party they're doing, they're just... I feel like Batulins is just like a full dictionary of every single dip, divot, and ridge that you can play around, and he just kind of maneuvers all his players around, and he knows exactly where these guys can play based on like that extra meter of elevation behind that other ridge that they can play. Of course, when you have some other players that are just driving through trying to kind of third party it, they lose a few players because of that, but they're taking space because they can afford it as well, right? They have kind of an area where it's hard to play besides maybe between one car and a rock, so they play 1 or 2 guys only in those areas, and then they just make it work. One smoke here and there, and then start shooting at everyone and everything, right? So that's what we're going to see from Twisted Minds. I feel like they're going to be very, very focused on getting the kills and kind of getting into some of these fights and putting themselves into positions where they are going to guarantee themselves a lot of points, but not necessarily the win.
So a lot of experience in Twisted Minds is leading to this aggressive play and allowing them to put themselves in those positions. But another team that has a lot of experience, Saga, is Mad Bulls, and we saw this in the group stages. Very similar aggressive style of play from them. How did they play in this particular game?
Yeah, certainly a lot of experience on the individuals, but as a roster, this is a relatively newly formed team, but that didn't stop them being the highest performing team on Miramar throughout every phase of the competition so far. Averaging almost 16 points per game in the group phase was ridiculous, and a large part of that did come from some favorable zones, particularly on the first day. They did get a couple of good feeds, but they also make their own luck, and this is exactly what we're talking about. So they dropped in Los Leones, they waited for Howl to make their move. They took the positions up and around the East Picado Ridge, and then they started to creep their way forwards. And I spoke a little bit to Ibby, and he says when they're in a position, they always try to anticipate what the worst zone shift for them is, and then they're always ready for it. So when this phase 3 popped, they're already in their vehicles, already making their move, somehow managed to navigate their way around Howl and just full send into a crash into a 2-2 split of Pera. And Pera lose basically everyone else because to try and get back into the fight, they have to take that 2-2 split that's over on the opposite side in Graveyard and then try and make the same rotation, and they just get picked off on the way over. So it's really well-timed aggression, really smart maneuvering, and again, it's all just about the pace. They're ready for the phase 3 shift, they're ready to anticipate that it's not going to be a good zone for them, and it takes what is a pretty bad position and turns it into one where they have the ability to just get on the rooftops, hold out teams like Na'Vi, and look for third-party shots over the top. Eventually, though, their downfall was pushing in towards Howl as they held out Pod Samolet, and that just left the door open for Lil W to push up the hill and clean everything up. But from a position where Mad Bulls, maybe at the start, you may not have expected them to have such a good game, a top 4 and 8 kills on the board is definitely a good way to start things off.
For sure, definitely a good way to start things off. And then Avenger, I mean, we've spoken a bit about experience, so let's talk more on that. Do you think that that is what is going to ultimately win the championship? Is that individual experience coming together, or just out and out firepower, or both?
Experience and synergy, of course, and to tie into the Mad Bulls thing here, if they didn't lose Nixie in this situation here, they would have gotten potentially like double-digit kills and could have potentially even taken on a little W in this case here. But yeah, losing a player that is just rough. Like you obviously they'd rather be 3 guys alive than being held out. But if they could have been 4 in this spot here on a high ground playing on the warehouse, that's just so strong, and they could potentially make, you know, like 5-10, maybe even taking the win from the game here. But yeah, losing a player in that situation, it's just heartbroken here.
Lil W takes our first win here in the grand finals. We have another Miramar, but first, a quick break.
Welcome to Update 28.2. Join us for our 7th anniversary celebrations, an all-new SMG experience in the arcade, and finally, the recall system update. We've got lots of surprises in store for you to celebrate our 7th birthday. Erangel's school will be transformed into a festive 7th anniversary venue. Plus, keep an eye out for throwable cupcakes and surprise gift boxes scattered across the starting island of each map. We've been hard at work balancing the SMGs to offer a more unique experience and accommodate various gunplay strategies. The arcade is all set for you to try out these changes, so get that early feel and let us know what you think. And there's more exciting news. Based on your positive feedback, we're expanding the recall system to include Vikendi and Tego. Check out the patch notes to discover all the details of this update. Lastly, this patch also includes weapon mastery updates, world bug fixes, and performance tweaks. Be sure to dive into the patch notes for all the details. And we'll see you on the battlegrounds.
There's a guy here. Up right. Second floor outside. One more. On us. Picking outside.
Oh, well, let's look. We need to go there. Busy.
Yeah, coming.
Just going out.
There's one guy in the house and they stop green line. Only one guy in the house, guys.
Yeah,
Picking outside of me. Ibi, on me. Outside.
Yeah. Outside of me.
Nice, Ibi.
Oh, behind. Still doing the car.
Nice. Flush him, maybe. Nice, one up.
I'm gonna go back. Stop.
Different team. Low W. How many is low W?
Four.
Guys, I need one more on me.
Instant.
Listen.
I'm on the roof, baby.
How? They're pushing us. Yeah.
Knocked on.
Nice.
He's the front guy, probably.
Closer. I'm on the wall. You guys waiting. I'm blind.
1-4, edge of blue.
You don't have to overpick.
No.
Gun there. Two active.
1-4, 1 close. No.
We have 3 here.
Can you come with me?
One got far, one got close.
Different team far, not far.
It's pod, two active pod.
Needs front go.
Crashed or no?
No,
They don't crash.
Hello? Меня наличка. Да не писано на заказ. Фура мне-то что-то.
Game 2 more Miramar, and we have got ourselves already Lul W looking good here with their space control to get themselves a good spot. That being said though, big contenders of course like Twisted Minds being able to rack up a ton of kills here, Toby.
Definitely, and I love the fact that we're now seeing again a circle that we wouldn't see normally. Some of that unplayable terrain staying in phase 4. It's rare that we see the game end on that kind of mountain face proper. So always as much chaos that is kind of comes along with it. It's always lovely to see people, or some of the greatest at the game, try and make the most of a very hard and very to some extent unpredictable situation there.
Yeah, because in a lot of situations where it's like an uphill battle, effectively, a lot of situations like that in PUBG have slight small plateaus that you can kind of exist on along that kind of incline that does exist, right? But here, there's like the road that Bumble Squad tried to go for, and that's about it. But anyway, let's get into it. We've got ourselves Game 2, our last Miramar of the day, as we have ourselves a different playing path to get things rocking here for game number 2.
Love the fact that we're kind of horizontally mirroring the playing path. So as nice as it was for the Eastern teams in the previous game, now we cater to the teams out towards the West. Once again, I want to bring people's eyes towards Bumble Squad, towards BBL, down in and around the Chumacera region, just to see, are there going to be any early skirmishes, fights for vehicles, something like this. Again, I think if BBL want to come out victorious from the start here, they need to really get space in the early game, because they're surrounded by pretty good teams, so you wanna really make space for yourself.
Yeah, losing one early in the previous game for Bumble Squad was pretty rough, right? I mean, the fact that happened, and there is a slight, not even really an overlap. Get away from the islands, you crazy people. That slight overlap, losing one early, really impacts you in a lobby like this. So you've got to play defensively.
Especially when you're an edge team. I mean, for Bumble Squad, you can see they're trying to kind of fit their way in on multiple occasions. Circle just never really catered to them. Now, once again, we're throwing the circle straight down, all out in the middle of the play path, but close there too. So most teams will be pretty good with where they are. The few teams that have to come in, interestingly enough, are all going to be coming in from the southeast. So expect to see some very hard northern wraps, perhaps all the way up towards where San Martin is, and maybe for a team like Foot in particular, look to see them go very wide around the circle before entering proper.
Yeah, and since everybody's trying to get themselves a decent spot, let's hear from the teams once again about how they feel about Miramar and where they like to loot.
I guess my favorite loot spot on Miramar is North Los Leones, as we've been looting this for 1.5 years with my team. I find this loot spot very special, as you always have a lot of space around you, as teams cannot loot near you, as you don't, only if you have a different team looting it with you on the south, but coming to this tournament we don't have any teams who are gonna loot it with us, so we have the whole city for ourselves, so it's pretty nice to play from, and you always have a lot of high grounds around you, so it's giving you a lot of info to rotate in any zone you want to.
Suosikkiluuttispotti Miramarissa. Power grid on ihan hyvä. Keskellä mappia kivi joka puolelle, niin pääsee farmaan.
Our favorite spot on Miramar is San Martin. In general, it is my favorite spot among all the maps. First of all, because of the large number of available mountains. Secondly, we have Twisted Minds looting close to us, and honestly, it's kind of nice when you have such a weak team playing from your side, especially when they get heroes and other coach.
Well, Entropic might have found themselves their favourite loot spot here during this game, but unfortunately for them, already losing one, a bit rough. Again, lol W on the board.
I like to think of this as, as we hold that thought for a second, Voldemort finding one from Orclus. That's once again Orclus taking casualties in the early game. I like to think of it as the Vernis syndrome. You have that much space on the map that normally isn't contested as these vehicles ride along, and Voldemort, I would imagine, stays alive to ride home about it. It's again where Entropic, they're like, oh, we're so far out in the west, we should be all right. But what you don't expect to see is the El Pozo team full speed send it 4 men into that compound.
Yeah.
So can't really fault Entropic for not or getting caught off guard there. But again, just kind of goes to show, even when you don't expect to get pulled up on, always have your car parked in a position from where you can get out instantly, and preferably in a direction where you know that the suppressive fire from your teammates can come in right away. Because as soon as you see that circle pop, you gotta think, okay, we have a somewhat prior location here. Could anyone pull up? And if so, how do I get out? And clearly, Entropic just wasn't ready for that 4-man little W push.
Yeah, getting out's tough, and I mean, even alongside where BBL was, right? It's tough. You're going to have shots go your way, and Voldemon's already to get one on the board. I'm actually happy to see Voldemon, who made quite the impression in Last Chance, now starting out with BBL again as well. There's been some shuffling here and there for the roster, but Voldemon put in a lot of work for them during that Last Chance. And speaking of a lot of work in the previous game, that's Twisted Minds with tons of kills, tons of damage going their way. And again, it wasn't really a very defensive play coming out from Twisted Minds in the previous game. They were flexing with that 2-2. They were looking for the fights, found themselves great opportunities to take those fights. Just went a little bit awry once everyone realizes, wait a minute, you guys are all spreading and having a rough time. Pod Samulet will have something to say about it.
Yeah, it's we'll see now if they can get something of this one too. Let's put Samulet all the way down to the far southeastern side here. In the meantime, I mean, again, not that I expect anything to come off of this. It's just casually getting back to his vehicle, living with the scare of Na'Vi, driving full team straight past him, as we see the stats from Foot in the previous game. And again, for Foot, I mean, a team that didn't probably, offer the circles they were given, expect to come out victorious in the previous game. So a 7-kill performance from them, I think, is a good start to hopefully a good grand finals for them.
Won't be surprised if eventually they come in on this higher east side for a circle like this. They are biding their time. They do not mind at all with a circle like this. Playing it nice and slow, getting themselves all fully geared, as we have a few other teams in the south still coming in. FaZe entering the fray. Likewise, so is Na'Vi. Pod Samulet all the way down there too. But if anybody's got some E pickups to get things going, they probably will use them if they're on a heavy edge position, trying to get themselves to another side of a circle if it shifts far away from them. There's no use of it just yet.
Let me devil's advocate you on that one, because yes, you E-pick up, but whenever, and I always think of this, whenever you E-pick up onto a circle that's on the plane path, that means that prior spots are either taken or the vehicles have been taken from there. Like all hard spawns in any vicinity inside the circle are already gone, because when you're on the plane path, there's a big chance that teams have landed in those spots you're going towards. Even if you're going hard to the other side of El Pozo, those cars have already been taken by little W. So if you're E-pick-upping, that's a weird word, into a circle like this, I think it might not be the advantage that you're hoping for. Yes, of course, I mean, you crash into a compound and sit there and get 9 circles. Sure, you could say that it was worthwhile. But I think for the most part here, save it for phase 2, phase 3, until you're pretty much sure that you won't be needing vehicles any longer. I think committing this early on could potentially, or would most likely, I should say, not be the reward you're hoping it to be.
Yeah, it's got to be later, or you do what you were talking about a lot in the Last Chance, which is you go really far in the circle and look for vehicles far off and away. Like, for example, the far west road or something like that, if nobody's rotated via that way or anything like that. But for now, everybody's just finding themselves a shored up defensive position, as you can see, along this road south of Picardo. We've got ourselves Mad Bulls just finding themselves a nice spot, and Pod Samulet probably will in the distance eventually be able to spot out Na'Vi, but I don't see much conflict coming just yet. Maybe a few pot shots, but not too much.
I think, I mean, at least for scouting, the hill that both these two teams are going towards is pretty important in terms of getting proper information for your rotations to come. So I think this actually might be worth fighting, or not fighting like a full-on 4v4, but at least taking some shots from Podsemulet already out of the vehicles. Scare Na'Vi off. You want the space here. You want to make room for yourself to be able to scout. You don't want to rotate with a team right next to you. The fact that Presenti is seeing all these rotations and actually allowing them through is a bit surprising to me. Rather pufferfish, scare them off, force them to go elsewhere, because now you have to rotate side by side with Na'Vi, who actually just beat you to the circle as well. Now they're out of the cast too.
Yeah, I think Presenti presented a little bit too much of his head there as he peeked over, and I think Na'Vi realised that, hey, wait a minute, something's going on down there, so let's be a little bit more careful, as Ferris was out of his car and ready to shoot if things were to go down.
It's definitely not... I'm like, either you disengage or you force them off. You don't kind of have to do both, because then you're just going to get into an awkward position. We'll see if they do manage to untangle the little traffic jam that we saw there. So it seems like actually Podsemulet just going to forfeit completely up to go far west on it. And again, we know they have plenty of space to maneuver, so should be all right. Equally on the opposite side of the circle, Foot are now coming in from the area we just talked about before, going all the way north of San Martin, and it makes perfect sense. Now, of course, we'll see if they get Circle 2 with it here, James, but for now, I mean, if you split the circle in half across the middle and look at how many teams we have on the northern and the southern side, they have way more room to maneuver up there towards the north of your Foot than you would have had you tried to kind of squeeze in behind Face on the southeast.
Yep, gives them a lot of room to wiggle here at the moment, but looking at how things play out, it will be, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see where the next circle actually pops here for them. They've got not many lines of sight to be able to scout on just yet. You can see Beamy out of his car at the moment looking around, but for the most part, I don't think he garners much information from where he is currently, other than the fact that, okay, maybe the ridge line kind of northwest of San Martin is currently not taken. Might be able to see some members of Pera, but beyond that, yeah, they're playing it slow.
They sure are. It's a kind of scout and go sort of thing, where you go to the next hill, great, that's clear. Go to the next hill, great, that's clear. Leapfrogging with your teammates, making your way slow and steady further forward as this new circle pops. And where are we headed? As Foot as a circle can be. Hard to the opposite side of the circle. And this is going to be a race for what little or what few compounds there are available in this.
Yeah, kind of theorized as to a circle like this could have been a good time for some of those late-coming teams to then now pick up and try and get themselves somewhere on that west road. But we will see if that comes to fruition. I don't think that's going to be the case just yet here, as the Great Migration is on the way. If this was 2018, the server would be a bit laggy. That's a lot of cars.
The scary thing about this as well is that you have Montenuevo, a massive kind of just blockade in rotations for teams that want to wrap all the way around. And because the mountains that are very north to south are blocking off a lot of rotation points as well, you're kind of forced to squeeze in towards Montenuevo proper, which is why we're right now seeing just teams going in circles, trying to, again, untangle what has now become a massive traffic jam affecting over half the server.
Shots coming in from Mika. Already putting it in against Hello Senpai, so that's a good start here for these teams looking to try and slow down Lil W. Maybe a little nade across the way. No, decides against it, as Lyrics is already down as well. The crashes will continue fast and furious, though. The rest of Lil W are a little bit disconnected from this fight, so they've kind of accepted their losses by the looks of things here, saying, okay, well, there's no way we're going to get over there in time. We may as well just stay here as two and be okay with, I suppose, playing this out as two.
I mean, kind of ironic too, right? They get punished the exact same way they punish in Tropic early in the game by simply just not being ready for the potential pull-ups when the circle pops. They weren't in their cars. The cars you could see weren't parked in positions from where they could easily get back towards their teammates. They were also driving their teammates to get into set positions. So just not ready for the push to come through. And now for Face, trying to make their way through the southern side here. In a 2-2 split as well. James and Gustav trying to group up with the two teammates up on the hillsides on Monte. But no, Gustav, you're the trailing player as well. Who turns around now? Now that James is almost, at least, safe on the other side, who 180s? Who comes back for the captain?
It's tough, isn't it? I mean, unless he finds something along that dirt road, although when we did the flyover there, I didn't think there was anything available. So, unfortunate for Gustav to get things going, unless somebody somehow forgets about him. But Na'Vi's completely in the way of that rotate.
I think it's a strategic disabling of the vehicle. The circle's going to hard shift south, and he's just going to claim the compound and win from there.
Huge.
He's Danish. He's like super smart guy. It's all planned. Don't worry. Ooh, in the meantime, Schengen, smoke, hello, I don't care. I'm just going to fight Citrix anyway.
just keep shooting in that one location and hoping it's going to work out. But Dedrix has already moved, so I mean they should be able to get him up here, all things considered. Unless Bumble Squad has something to say about it, they are down the way, but I don't think they have an angle.
I mean, and even if they do, there's just how much you're willing to risk to try and get a flush, you know? I mean, when you're sat dead center, you have all your players up. This is, again, I mean, you're only going to be given... The circles themselves, the game itself, is only going to give you so many... boosts, so to speak, so much help in trying to claim victories. The rest is on your own via your scouting, via your mechanical skill to bring home chicken dinners. I think for Bumble Squad, they are well aware, though at least currently, they're sat very comfortably to not have to risk anything else.
Auglis is timing this out. They realized that technically they're kind of towards the center of the circle right now, but they're waiting. The circle is about to pop. They're seeing if they need to use it or not, because if you don't need to use it, then newsflash, it's not going to be that useful in later phases of this game anyway. So they're still there. At least one of them is on this, and they're dropping now. For scouting information.
Instantly jumped out again. Okay, I was just gonna say there's no way in which he's actually flying up there. They would have been able to get a compound on the far northeastern side of the circle, but I don't think that was gonna reap them a lot of rewards, because sitting there without a vehicle wasn't gonna grant them any favors either.
No, definitely not. But Podsamlet now making a bit of an aggressive move on towards where Bumble Squad is, as well as FaZe. They haven't quite got themselves Gustav over there at FaZe, so they're a little disadvantaged in terms of manpower. However, Podsamlet's put themselves in the middle of two teams, so that is going to be a little bit agonizing if they want to take something too aggressive. So they're going to sit in this compound and be okay with it for now. The only problem is, where do you go next? It's going to be a war for them pretty soon.
Definitely, and also, I mean, while we can't see it fully on the minimap there is a massive road in between them and Podsamlet, or Bumble Squad, I should say, and Podsamlet. And we know that in city endings in particular, roads tend to just become like rivers. You just do not cross them unless if you absolutely have to. So even though the Bumble Squad are nearby, it would, I would imagine, require a hell of a lot for them to actually opt to engage on this.
Line it up. Schofield, will he take the shot? He sees Beam, he already took some damage there. The shot did go his way, but decides to hold the trigger. As you see, Baron Peak still looking towards it. Go on.
I like the patience here, because they heard the vehicles on foot coming in. He knows that there's a... I mean, he doesn't know that it's T-Bone, but he knows there's a player nearby. Now you can see him stopping. He's heard the footsteps too. T-Bone might be in for a world of hurt if he casually strolls into this warehouse. So I love the fact that Schofield Peaks gets the info, feeds it across to his teammates, which you would imagine that he did, and doesn't shoot because he doesn't want to give up his position to T-Bone.
Now, I'm not too sure who it is as well at the moment, but yeah, if you know that this is eventually Foot, who likes to be playing these scenarios out, then you'd be a little bit more wary about taking that fight. Gustav is still on this side of the road. Sausage, as well, is using this little location for a vantage point for some scouting information. He might not know that Gustav is here.
No clue whatsoever. And as soon as he gets back in the car, I mean, I would imagine it would require a lot for Gustav to start shooting, because even if he gets the knock and the flush, that's you now alerting an entire team that you're in the pool. I mean, it's just not worthwhile. In the meantime, now I saw Howl starting to rotate north as the circle swung. He's curious to see how far they were going to go with, but actually commits to El Pozo proper. Now the issue is, because Foot opted to take this rotation too, these two teams with Para and Foot appears kind of stalled, and now Howl is just running into yet another blockade.
And rotating east of this as well is difficult, because look where Foot's found themselves. They like to play it slow, but playing it slow into this field when you've got a shooting gallery of Twisted Minds across the field makes the rotate even more scary. So they have managed to get themselves up to the kind of south side of those fields, though. And Auglis will be very happy that they did not move for a while off the corner of Monte Nuevo. It's not the most amazing spot, is that corner, actually. There's not amazing lines of sight. There's not amazing cover, but you've got small little shanty town effectively on that corner, really, to work with. And Ruin, unfortunately, Howl here, this rotate has not worked.
We can put it this way. Once upon a time, there was still areas to be played in this next circle, but then mortars were added, and since then, well, that is not really a thing anymore. In the meantime, now, Ascend realizing they have to make some aggressive plays to get something done here, full-on brawling their way into the remaining two players of Little W.
You gotta make something happen. Here comes the breach, trying like a SWAT team to get on in here, but Schengen says he take down Brexco already. A few more smokes to try and kind of get them advancing a little bit further, but Slow Jacket takes down 2 Kiliakai as well. Slow Jacket goes big. He is able to get 3. They were 2 alive during all of this, having been taken out by Ascend earlier. And they get the revenge.
Full-on 2v4, standing their ground, getting the rest up as well. A clutch place coming in from the duo of Lil W, who I think are not done fighting just yet. Gustav down to the last 3 first states. He's going to try and make his way further forward. That nade is going to go far, but doesn't matter. Marco dies to the blue.
Love that by Lil W prior. Great stuff. Really good stuff. All things considered. But anyway, BB team is going to be next on their chopping block here. If Slow Jacket has something to say about it, what is going on? As a doozy has fallen. But meanwhile, in the distance, trying to take some damage towards Example. Yes, they will. Beamy will beam him from a distance. As Example is now not. But still, Lil W is acting as a barrier to teams like BB Team and Foot. What is going on?
If they can successfully keep them out here, Schengen finding T-Bone now as well as Philsfer is finally able to breach into the compound. Will take Schengen out. Foot in trouble as well, but as you said, they suppressed for long enough that BB Team are forced to take the fight on the hillsides. That's going to force Foot up here to stay in the open as well. And even though they get the knock onto Example, the rest of Twisted Minds have already repositioned. Now Pera comes in as well. The northwest here is going to start lighting on fire, even more than we're already seeing now.
Touch the God will go down there after Foot has already been alerted to his presence. If Slow Jacket is a one-man army in that spot, who knows what the potential is of him up there, but he is the only one left alive. Example now back up on his feet, will finish off 80. The Fairest with a Panzerfaust. What is going on down towards the south? Regardless of that fact, though, here in the north, still very much in turmoil. Vard looking for the nade on Pera, trying to shut them down completely as Baron peeks off on the other side. Lazar, big damage goes. He sticks the res, and Vard goes down to Perfectix. Oh, my days.
Absolute carnage on the northwestern side of the circle, and it's not done just yet. Twisted only pushing up with 2. Perfectix just casually strolling up with 7 bullets in the gun. Hasn't reloaded for the last minute and a half, but he doesn't care. There you go. Finally, the reload comes through as Presenti spots the rescue mission in the open, and down goes both Corexia and Gustav.
Cheeky angle on that as well. Very, very cheeky by Pod Samolet. But again, we expected this to be a war down towards Montenuevo, and they're not doing too badly for themselves. Already taking that Tuster as well was Pin, but Spiro pokes over the side here against Pera to try and deal with Lazar. Lots of nades going to be going their way. Schofield's going to be the main guy to try and make something happen against BB Team, but Slow Jacket is still in the other building.
Yep, chilling, trying to wait for the perfect time to kind of spring the trap from the next house over. Twisted Minds, again, don't want to fully commit to it. You know how quick casualties can go your way if you're fighting your way through buildings. Field first will fall as Petulins spots him. Yet another Ace-32 main in the window, and that's going to be Pera Esports down as Baron Peak falls.
A big cleanup potentially here for Twisted Minds coming over this hillside. Really good stuff, great approach to it. But best to watch, and Spiro still have something to say about it. An example with a Panzerfaust. He's looking for just that slight opportunity. If anybody pokes on around here, he's got to be careful of those kind of windowsills, though. But the nade goes through.
I do wonder how many Panzerfausts are in the cars parked outside. Who knows? Who knows what was there before they all blew to pieces?
Blues pushing.
Now you can see Example looking for the mega shotgun kill. If he can find one, he hears the footsteps upstairs, so he has to isolate. Now running into the blue to try and get it. This is risky. This is unnecessarily risky. Example, what are you doing?
That was bold. And now Petulins has gone down as well.
What?
Well, the other Twisted Mind guys are running away in the opposite direction here. That was not what I had on my bingo card here,
And
Toby,
who
today.
came out alive of all of this? Slow Jacket. While there were 4 teams fighting in his compound, he actually gets to stay alive. Probably as confused as we are, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I've got my confused face on. But, you know, I mean, it's... If that's what you want to do, if you want to use your Panzerfaust, you can use your Panzerfaust.
Yeah, I suppose. I feel like that was personal. We reached a point where it was definitely personal. But there you go. Down they go. Maybe, you know what? I mean, if you can, as Twisted Minds... When we're mega theory crafting here, if you can force a bad game on BB Team, you're already through to PGS. I mean, if you can take out BB Team before they get things going here in a game that could potentially have looked really good for them, then sacrifice yourself and take them down with you. That might be a play if you don't want to see them at the globals.
With all the hype around BB Team, it's not a bad theory.
No,
Let's be real.
It might be the reason. Might just want to slow them down before they get started.
Maybe here. I mean, already Twisted Minds is looking phenomenal. Aside from whatever happened just then, they've already got another 7 kills on the board here, and they've been able to rotate into the circle on that east side, far east side. But a lot of shots from Nixie going to be actually trying to pepper down Entropic in the distance. Mad Bulls is still 4 alive, still has purchase on this circle, and already had a good game in the previous one. They just didn't have Nixie, who a lot of people right now look as one of the best players in Europe, just to put that out there, in terms of the potential performance that he can have on a battleground, on a lobby like this. So maybe this is Mad Bulls after almost getting themselves a win in the previous one.
And James, not only is Nixie alive, but he's got a P90.
Oh yeah, it's the best gun.
It really is. I mean, I guess we don't include Panzerfaust, but we'll see. Now it's James again. The phase play of this day so far has been trying to stay put, trying to make your way on through, and this one ain't going to be an easy one. Everyone's eyeing extra points in the blue. They know phase haven't been fully eliminated yet. So, James, I'm worried that once you peak, that might be with a bullet with your name on it.
Peeking on over, see what they can find here. BBL team.
That's another team.
They are a team, yes, correct. I don't know why I'm doing this, but Bumble Squad in the distance, going to get a bit naded for their troubles. That was kind of close. They were going to retreat back into that smoke, flocking like little bumblebees away from that, but another nade comes in. Oh, Leosh and Hello My Bad are able to put in a lot of damage. It is up to only one member of Bumble Squad still left alive here, but Gedrox is not going to let them go.
It's a dangerous Rabo, and I think they're aware of this now. They're pulling up the vehicle as well. That blue sonate actually helping to isolate. They know exactly where they have them now. Global Army with a double explosion stealing away too, but there's still one more of Bumble Squad left to be found. Let's see who gets rewarded with the point as Matzy. While he's down to just him, we'll be able to do a little bit of damage in return.
That's actually an excellent steal from August in the distance, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just being able to take 2 when that looked almost certainly win or dies. Almost boatload of points. Leosh will finish off Matzy though. Bumble Squad goes down. I mean, it's a difficult spot to be able to defend when you've got so many teams kind of coming in from the west, coming in from the north on your position. But now August will eventually start looking down towards Winner Die, I would suspect. But they're also, Mad Balls can see Twisted Minds who have moved in there as well. Extents also in the line of sight of Lou.
Mad Balls absolutely gifted with this circle shift. The fact that they get to stay up on the high ground with enough space that they can kind of drone back down behind the ridge when they do get targeted is perfect for them. BBL can't do anything to push up. It's only once or if this circle comes off the hillside that Mad Balls are really gonna be in trouble. You can see now BBL is starting to eye them. They want to keep them up on the high ground, but I mean, for now, Mad Balls can really just chill and take the shots they want to.
Yes, they can. Does Mad Bull's logo look like the beef jerky logo? I feel like it.
I don't eat enough beef jerky to know. It kind of looks like a thong.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that too, I suppose. But I'm going to go with the beef jerky. Regardless of the fact, I mean, they're chewing this game up. They are absolutely in a great position to be able to keep going here. As Twisted Minds, unfortunately, Perfectix will get knocked by Lyran in the distance. Instantaneous pickup on that, knowing that they have a little bit of cover.
Yeah, I should also say it only looks like it when it's at that smaller logo. It does look like a very majestic bull when it's, you know, kind of zoomed in a bit. Yeah, that's me trying to avoid getting evil DMs from people from the organization. Here we go. Vehicle comes forward. Lou able to find one instantly down in return. As Win or Die. One difficult rotation at a time. Here they make yet another one, but now they're running straight into the Mad Bulls.
And what they can, Nades will charge up once again. Nixie P90. Yes, let's go. We have got the big gun in action here. And oh no, if Nixie has got this, I'm able to go with it. I don't know how you're going to be able to shut this down. Cinematic explosions. Got to be careful. Do not get hit by that flying car. But August going to rock up here, trying to go for the flash on towards him and do what they can. But more shots are going to be coming in from the distance.
I love the timing of the wrap around the hillside, but they really need to connect some of these shots, and it just ain't happening. Nixie once again finds one there with P90, one with a nade as well. Shot down on entry. And Lyran, only player left alive, so big that Mad Bulls are able to take these guys down as fast as they were, because BBL were smart in their timing. They said once that fight escalates, we peek on over, we engage. But Nixie shut them down before they even get out of the car.
And how do you shut down a P90? The answer is kind of go for that long-range fight, or at least mid-range fight, considering this position. But even then, BBL has got a little bit of a timer against them, because Mad Bulls has been able to wrestle away that circle, that center circle position here. And in the distance, Nixie once again. Also excellent at range. 5 kills on the board. We picked a perfect time to start focusing on this man, because he is an absolute monster in the lobby, and he's got some monster kit to follow it.
Yep. Sure does. 4v4. It's been very different games for BBL and Mad Bulls, respectively. I guess the main difference being Mad Bulls had the high ground. They could see what was happening. BBL, well, they were just trying to make sure that Mad Bulls didn't come down and take the fight to them. But now, there's no other way around it. They're on even playing fields. They're on even sides of this hill with a tree in the middle. And this fight is bound to happen. Ibby around the edge of the smoke finds the double.
What a perfect double to get this going as well. Now if Mad Bulls plays very aggressive on this, he sees him in the distance as well. Lying down Ibby, that's 3. Will he get 4? Schiller goes down. It's going to be up to Mad Bulls here to close this out in style. Voldemon is just high. He knows he's done. He knows he's done. What a play from Ibby here in the final moments.
As the OGs come, the tall Dutchman still has a lot of firepower in him. Finding the double, instantly swings on the third, almost hits Voldemon there as well. What a huge play from Ibby coming out there.
Between Ibby and Nixie, man, this was Mad Bulls written all over it. That was beef